what's up guys? Today I'm out in Hongcheon, another walking video, but I'll start out with the food first. We're at Yangjima, one of our favorite places for meat. It's literally sort of in the middle of nowhere on the road, but that's why they're able to afford such affordable prices and why you see so many people here, because the taste is good. So the topic of today is who Korea is for. And I'll compare it to Thailand and America. So compared to America, when it comes to food, both Korea and Thailand, they're for people who like spicy food. However, the difference is in Thailand, it's a sour spicy, and Korea, it's sweet, caramely type of spicy. So I think it's a bit less spicy. Now, it doesn't mean that Thai people don't like sweets, but usually it's isolated into just sweet or spicy, which usually includes sour spicy. Whereas Korea, it's sweet pretty much with everything. Now, as far as the vegetables are concerned, in Korea, you're not gonna get too much of that Southeast Asian herbally kind of scent. If you don't like, you know, things like cilantro or the really herbally stuff, you might like Korea, because Koreans stick to the pretty much boring types of green onions, garlic. So it's a bit less exotic in that sense. But if you're into the really herbally types of stuff, like cilantro, which I am, then you might like Southeast Asian cuisine. Now, something you also gotta know about Korea is that unlike Thailand, which stresses sort of sour flavors, Korea stresses nutty flavors, like the salad dressing here. It's not to say there aren't sour things in Korea, like this sort of sour kimchi soup. But it's just that the cuisine itself likes nutty flavor profiles, and the majority of people do here. And sour is just sort of like a little added extra. Whereas in Thailand, I just feel like a lot of things are sour compared to what I'm used to in the States. And in Korea, a lot of things are a lot more nuttier. Anyways, the price is about $12 for 200 grams of meat, $6 for 100 grams of meat. And like all Korean places, the side dishes are completely free. My mom's gonna get some free coffee here, which brings me to the second point here in the difference between Korea and Thailand. And it's that I don't want coffee. What?
커피인데 메밀로 만든 거야.
그럼 커피가 아니야?
커피인데 메밀을 숲에다.
그게 말도 안 돼. That's like some kind of buckwheat coffee, and I don't drink coffee, and she's like, it's all coffee, and I'm like, why'd they call it coffee? And she's like, they use a buckwheat base. I don't know. Anyways, the difference between Korea and Thailand, the second one is that Korea has an obsession with eating a lot. I mean, just look at the term mukbang and this phenomenon of YouTubers eating a lot of food. That's actually a Korean word for eating room. Koreans love eating a lot, and out here they don't really serve small portions because it just seems wrong to serve a small portion. Like, an option to pay little and have small portions isn't really available. So if you're coming from the States, the portions here are probably more in line with what you're used to, because Americans eat quite a lot too. I would just say Koreans eat a tad bit more. And that's why the prices are misleading, because in Thailand you can go to street food, get noodles in a plastic bag the size of this fist, and it'll cost you about $1.50. But I usually need to buy 3 or 4 things to get my proper portion in, which at the end of the day costs about the same. So if you're a big portion eater, come to Korea. Anyways, now we're gonna head over to this temple that's supposed to be beautiful right now. I'll give you some more pros and cons of Korea versus Thailand. Alright guys, I am at Sutasa Temple. This is the Buddhist temple that's below Hongcheon Mountain, which if you see my Hongcheon series, I've actually visited twice. Whoa! That's like a little caterpillar on a string that's attached up there. And this brings me to the second point. Even the bugs here seem not too lazy. And this is a pro and con for both countries, I would say. And the difference is, I think Korea is for the slightly less lazy. But if you want to put it another way, Thailand is for people who are chill. So, I mean, you can see it as a pro and con. And you can't have it both ways, guys. So, you have to consider what kind of person you are. And Korea, I've been to this place, Hongcheon Mountain, twice already. And I had absolutely no idea that there's this famous temple here. And it's a place you need to visit at this time, particularly because right now it's Buddha's birthday. So they got lanterns probably going on. But because of the season, you have flowers, and Koreans want to see flowers. So you have to, like, if you want to tour in Korea, even if you just want to be a tourist, you have to be really busy trying to like see all the sites, because there's just so many sites, which is misleading for the size of the country, but there are just far more activities for you to do in Korea. Whereas in Thailand, I think it's more for the person who's chill, relaxed, really doesn't have an agenda, wants to go and sit by the beach and repeat the same actions over and over and over again until they literally die, you know? Wow, look at this. This is... oh. And this also goes to another point. It's just how you work. Society is just not that chill here in Korea. But the positive side is Korean society is prompt. So one of the biggest complaints I get from Bangkok and Thailand expats is that they're there and they're always complaining about, you know, if I go to 7-Eleven, these people are not helping me fast, they're not professional, you know, if I order some food, sometimes it takes too long, etc. Whereas in Korea, you're not gonna have any of that. You will notice that everybody is prompt. They'll help you out as quickly as possible. You go to the government office, you're in and out in 10-15 minutes. But all of that has to do with the fact that Korea is a very prompt country. So that's one way you can see it as a positive. Korea's prompt. Negative is Korea is not very chill. Whereas if you think about Thailand, sorry guys, another GoPro here. I really want to just chuck this stupid GoPro because so only got to deal with it for another week. I ordered another action camera, DJI this time. Screw GoPro. By the way, okay, so going forward, someone like me who's anal retentive, yeah, I can't do Thailand for too long. But by the way, I'm at the Sutasa temple right now, and you can see all these cool lanterns here because it's Buddha's birthday. You know, cute Buddha. So this Buddha's birthday, it's not birthday, it's the day that Buddha came to Korea or something. I'm not quite sure, but they say the day that Buddha came. That's the sort of motto of this holiday I keep seeing everywhere. But ooh, this is probably the best time to visit the temples in Korea. So whereas what was it, like the other opposite I was gonna say is Thailand, one good way to put it is they're chill, but one bad way to put it is they're lazy. Whereas Korea, one good way to put it is they're prompt, but one bad way to put it is they're anal retentive and impatient. So, you know, they're the same sides of the coin, or what you say, the opposite sides of the coin. It's the same thing. You can't have it both ways, guys. So consider the type of person you are, because I get really annoyed with expats who are in Thailand and keep complaining about things. And I totally agree with like the locals and the people that tell them, you know, you should just and go back to your home. Seriously, because I would not want things to just start turning completely efficient. I mean, there is a balance, so I will say there's some things I really think they can do, but at the end of the day, I would rather have these inefficiencies and people be chill than for you to like rush everybody and you to also be rushed. But you know, there is sort of an advantage to Korea, because what you have to consider is people say, you know, Korea is like the work environment so bad, blah 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 blah, but a lot of the people on my channel aren't coming here to work. So if you're just coming here as a tourist or a retiree and you don't have to work, but you're getting the benefit of all the promptness from people who are working and doing things in an efficient way. What 이거 엄마 연꽃이 아직 안 난 거야? 비었어? This is the lotus leaves, and they cut them all down. I don't know if it's like Jeju Island where they're cutting down the yellow flowers so they don't have the tourists, but I think my mom's saying that they cut it down so that you get a fresh batch. Yeah, I mean, even flowers in Korea have to be very busy. Trees, because they have to die and then grow all over again every season. But it's not like Thailand where they can just chill for the whole year, just stay around. So yeah, just consider the type of person you are, what you're gonna be doing. Don't just you know, be a sheeple and hear the complainers. You know, don't go to Thailand just thinking about the negative, because to every negative there's a positive, and to every positive there's sort of a negative too. Wow, this is really beautiful. Wow. 이게 얼만큼 길어?
길지는 않아도 한참 좀 가야 돼.
Apparently this is a very long walk along this trail. Wow, look at this. I didn't know that, you know, everyone's crazy about the cherry blossoms, but I'm noticing these trees after the cherry blossoms and they become green, they have this little white flower. 엄마, 이거는 다른 꽃이야? 뭐지 그
잎합 있고 조팝인데 있고 그래요.
그래? 그 체리 블라썸하고 뭐 틀린 거지?
여보, 이게 수국이야. 조팝 아니야.
아.
체리 블라썸 아니야.
아, 그러니까 저거는 체리 블라썸 안 나오고 그냥 하얀 꽃만 나오는 거.
제주도에서 왜 수국 보러 가자 한 게 이게 수국이라.
Those are camellias, I believe. We missed them in Jeju Island because we didn't have time. Anyways. Alright, I'll catch up with you a little bit. So I just got a lesson in ticks in Korea. Apparently there's murder ticks. If they bite you, people, then you die. I don't know how serious this is, but it's like, don't be sitting in places like this in the spring because they'll bite you. I mean, actually there's very dangerous stuff in Thailand too. You got like cobras, king cobras. But I just feel like, you know, Korea's for people who are more anal retentive, you know? If that's your personality type, you're anal retentive, you like to complain about everything, blah 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 blah. Korea might be the right place for you, because if you're anal retentive in Thailand, you're not gonna be very liked. Koreans are more likely to hear out your anal retentiveness and you trying to complain and trying to because they're always constantly trying to make things efficient. So if you actually have valuable feedback, they'll listen to it. Whereas in Thailand, it's just like, even if it is a valuable feedback to try to make something efficient, they'll just sort of have this attitude of, you know, just leave me alone. You know, we're just trying to chill out here. So again, pros and cons. Anyways, I'm gonna try to fly a drone here and figure out what's going on. All right, we're sort of at the end where you take a picture by the bird houses, and apparently you could keep going around over there and you can walk by the river, but you literally have to go on the other side of this. It's like a hill, but my father thinks it's a mountain. Anyways, as far as the laziness factor, it's all relative, I guess. But I could totally understand, and we just drove like an hour out here, and then he's got a bad knee, so we're just gonna take the short route back. Whatever the case, moving on to the next topic that I will expand on, and that is legalities. What sort of had me think about this is I was just flying a drone around here, guys, and here in Korea, you know, the reason I've resisted getting the drone for so long in Thailand is there's just so many legal requirements to fly this drone. You have to get the drone, then you got to register it, then you got to pay insurance for it, and then I don't know, it's all murky. I don't have anybody who has experience running into a cop and what you got to provide. And anyways, in Korea there's none of that. You could just buy a drone, you don't even need to register it, and then you can fly it. Now if it's like a really like heavy drone, you do have to register it, but you don't have to buy insurance as far as I'm aware of. So there's relative freedom. And as far as legal freedoms are concerned, in Korea you clearly also have a lot of freedom of speech. This is something only people in Thailand will be aware of that's lived there, because as a tourist you just sort of do whatever you want, and sometimes you get in trouble, and that's why you see those tourists, you know, graffitiing on the walls and almost getting thrown into jail and crying like, I didn't know, and they get no sympathy from the expats because, you know, that's just too extreme. But whatever the case, you shouldn't be graffitiing the walls here in Korea either, though. But less of that happens because there is this misconception that Korea is far more anal retentive with the laws, which I don't necessarily think so. I think there's actually more freedoms here. Like, you can sort of do whatever you want, and then you just use your common sense. Yeah, in Thailand it would be the same way too, but I don't know. So I mean, when people go to Thailand, they just seem to think common sense isn't necessary. Like, it's some third world country where they're not gonna prosecute you for doing things that are obviously wrong, like graffitiing on the walls of like hundreds of year old ancient temples and such. So whatever the case, as far as legalities are concerned, I feel a lot more legal freedoms here. Drone being one of them, freedom of speech another. And you know, overall, back to the thing about just being anal retentive, there's going to be laws that don't make sense. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. In America, there's a lot of laws that don't make sense. I mean, just go through like the list of all those laws that are made, you know, 50, 70 years ago, and you'll find that there's some very strange laws in America. But in Korea, like, to the anal retentiveness, I think there's less like nonsensical laws, especially around expats, because again, if you complain here as an expat, if I had to put money on it, you have a higher chance of getting heard here and things being changed. For example, there was this sort of nonsensical thing that was happening a while ago where well, it's not completely nonsensical, but foreigners obviously have a lot of COVID, you know, because Korea's done a pretty fantastic job of containing it with the masks and everything. So they decided, hey, you know, it's going to be mandatory for all foreigners to get a COVID test because, you know, like, fair enough, a majority of the cases were from foreign workers. But then foreigners went out, complained on social media, and it only took about a week for them to completely reverse that decision and come out and apologize. So that's just sort of an example of what happens here. I could think of similar incidents of nonsensical things, and in Thailand, like for example, that TM30 issue, it was a TM something, where we have to report every time we, you know, travel. Like let's say we travel to a neighboring province, they want all foreigners to report the address and go to immigration. Just like, it's pretty nonsensical, I think. But it took like months for them to finally backtrack on that, even though there was so much outrage over it because it was very nonsensical. But anyways, there's less of that. So that's just like one example. But overall, I think there's just a bit more legal freedoms, and also comes down to just how strict they are, or how much freedom they give you as far as to foreigners who want to start a business and such. So the one sort of big difference I noticed between Thailand and Korean expats is that a lot of the expats in Thailand, you know, they're English teachers. Same with Korea. So that's one similarity. You'll see a lot of English teachers in Thailand and Korea. I can't really say that you'll find less English teachers in any one of those countries. English teaching is like the easiest thing to do. So everybody does that. However, in Thailand, for the non-English teachers, the majority of people that work there as expats are either retired or actually a lot of them are retired, or if they're not retired or English teaching, they're working for like a multinational corporation. Like Unilever is very popular. I saw tons of people work for them. Although this is not really a corporation, but the UN, a lot of people work for them. But I hardly really meet anybody who owns a business, unless it's like one of those lose your money for sure kind of scheme kind of things, like owning a bar or something. I don't even know if they own it or if it's their wife or whatever. But not very successful business owners over there. Whereas in Korea, I would say if you're not an English teacher, yes, there are retirees, but instead of the huge amount of retirees like in Thailand, you have a lot of students. Yeah, people come here to study far more than Thailand. But then, you know, the small group of people who are not studying, retired, or here as an English teacher, are usually employed by being business owners. Korea they actually give incentives to foreigners to start businesses here. They give like free legal advice. They sometimes even give grants and such if you apply for them. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of legal opportunities for you to have your own business, get an investment visa, etc. And the schemes are a lot more straightforward. Maybe not on paper, but it's far more reliable. Like, you don't have to there's always surprises in any kind of paperwork, but in Korea, in my general experience, when you sort of see the outline and you follow it, then it works. And if, like, for example, they list it some way and then you go to the bureaucracy and then they're like, no, you can't, and then you show them, no, you could, and show them the law, you're not going to get you're in Thailand, you just sort of have to do what I tell you. You know, it doesn't matter what's written. I'm just gonna basically enforce what I feel like enforcing at this moment. Like, I've had incidents like that where I try to go get a driver's license and clearly says, you know, I could get it at this certain station if I bring, you know, my residence certificate. And I go to another office and they say, yeah, you need to go to that office. And I guarantee you that it's gonna work. And I drive all the way out there and they say, no, you can't. And I'm like, what? The other place said you can, and look at this website, you know, your official website. And they're like, in this office we don't, you know. And it's like, what? In Thailand, you just sort of have to accept it, you know. You can't be anal retentive, otherwise you're gonna just create more problems for yourself. Whereas in Korea, like, if that kind of situation happened, you would say no, and then you would complain. You'd like raise your temper and show them the website, and then they'll back off and say, oh, you're right. And like some kind of adjustments will be made. So it's far more like surprises when you're trying to do anything legal, because like contractual law here is far more, you know, westernized per se, right? Anyways, I'm back at the main place, so you know what, while waiting for my parents, I just thought of something, because I think I just sort of shine Korea in too much of a good light. I only showed the pros of freedoms of law here, but there are negatives to this, and the negative side to more freedoms in laws is that actually this is one of the biggest complaints by foreigners out here. There's sometimes a lack of enforcement of laws. So compared to the West, I think, you know, Thailand and Korea, they probably definitely have an issue with enforcing the law, you know? Although I sort of feel like, at least against expats and foreigners, or at least how I feel or we're made to feel, the enforcement of law is far more strict in Thailand. I mean, anybody who's had to deal with the 90-day reports and all this, and how retentive they are when you're trying to get out of the airport if you don't have I mean, first of all, there aren't that many laws here like that in Korea, so maybe they enforce it just as well. But just consider that that's when it's two sides of the same coin kind of thing. If you have freedoms, you're gonna have non-enforcement of a lot of laws. So for example, that would be I just see on the Facebook post, one of the biggest complaints is, oh, you know, I walk on the streets and there's all these scooters and bicycles, the rental bicycles laying around, and I can barely walk. Oh no, you know, I'm so fat, I can't walk through it. I don't know what the issue is, because I never really have issues with that. But you know, that is like, you'll hear complainers all the time. I mean, you can tell I'm very biased against complainers. I really hate complainers, because you know what, if you think about the positive aspect of that is, hey, because they don't enforce those laws, that's why you also have the freedom to go along on a park and then drink soju or beer without, you know, getting ticketed hundreds of dollars for public intoxication. I mean, I would rather deal with the non-enforced parking issues and have that freedom. And number two, if you did enforce it, that means that you would need more bureaucracy, you would need more cops, so you'd be paying more taxes and everything would just be more expensive. And that's probably why you don't like America or where you're from. So that's why you're here. So if you don't like it, you want things enforced, you want things like your country, go back to your country kind of thing. I'm totally okay with that, you know? Like a lot of people are like, oh, it's so xenophobic, you know, locals here don't like that, like us, and then they're always telling us to go back home. Oh no, I'm traumatized. But you know, I could say as an expat, as a foreigner, you know, other foreigners who do that annoy the crap out of me, and I want to tell them, go back to your own country. Because honestly, it's like those cons are pros. Yeah, sure, I would love to live in a world where things just revolved around me, and you know, they only enforce the laws I want and they gave me freedoms and the laws I want, but you know, the world doesn't revolve around you. I'm gonna just shut it off here because they're cutting grass over there. By the way, I want to give kudos to this place. That trail was made by the city of Hongcheon, not the temple. So there is no entrance fee to walk that trail. Although it'd be completely fair for them to accept entrance fee at that temple, this temple doesn't accept entrance fees. Alright guys, unexpected stop, because while driving we saw that there is farmland theme park that's free entrance. It looks like they just built it. My god, fantastic office there. Looks like they got nice toilets, and it's free entrance, so why wouldn't we go here? And you know, I said there's usually a pro and a con to both things, but sometimes I can't really, I mean, you guys see, write in the comments how this could be a positive in any way, but in Thailand, it's very common to double price foreigners. I don't even think it's all Southeast Asian countries, because when I was in Vietnam, they weren't double pricing, at least when I went, because the locals were complaining that, you know, the fees to the attractions are too high, so they can't go, so only foreigners can go sometimes. But here in Korea, there is no double pricing. But what's better than that is that a lot of these attractions are free. This is a dragon. Oh, each one of these pillars are the Chinese zodiac. Where's the pig? I'm a pig. Well, actually, it's a boar because I was, you know, there actually wasn't pigs. Pigs apparently were imported into Korea, the domestic ones that we eat, by the Dutch missionaries. So the pigs in the Chinese zodiac are boars. They're wild and ferocious, guys. Okay? This is so misleading. I'm not this kind of pig. Alright? I'm a boar. A very territorial wild boar. Okay, whatever the case, yeah, a lot of these attractions are free. And the way, you know, you would have to think that there's like a pro and a con. Like if it's free, then it's bad quality. But look at this. Look at how they've just, look at that grass. I mean, if you go to Home Depot, I know the Korean grass is the most expensive. So grass experts chime in. But this is really good grass. I want to just jump in here, but my parents say don't sit on it because there's ticks that could kill you. Oh my god. Whatever the case, yeah, the quality of the attractions are also good. Why? Because the city themselves, they create these attractions to bring in tourists, so they're sort of like a halo effect, and the businesses around them, such as the restaurants and such, do good, and then in return provide more tax revenue. You know, like these kinds of policies make sense to me. Oh yeah, 맞지? My mom is very surprised how well they made this. This is better than 이거 수타사보단 더 좋잖아.
거기는 자연이고.
Well, yeah, that was natural, but look at this. Wow, I'm like pretty impressed. This is, no one knows about this place. So guys, this is literally in the Sutasa temple. It's like maybe 100-200 meters from the entrance. Definitely visit it. I always find these very surprising free attractions everywhere. Even if when I went to Jeju, remember, I found all these free attractions. Wow, look at this. So this is something I give 100% kudos to Korea. I really don't see a downside of this. It's not that we end up paying more taxes or anything. It seems maybe the locals do. Yeah, that's true. But then the locals make more money, so it's probably the same percentage, maybe even less. But as a foreigner, I certainly don't pay more here than I do in Thailand. I certainly pay like the double pricing taxes. Like, like for example, when you go to the Grand Palace, I don't know what it is now, but back in the days, it was like $30-40 to enter the Grand Palace for a foreigner. For a local, it was only like, was it like $4 or $5? It's like they 10x you on the foreigner fee. It's a lot. Korea, there is no foreigner pricing. If anything, there's foreigner discounts. Like if I go to theme parks, so usually foreigners pay less, if anything, because they're trying to attract them. Even like college entrances, like I heard that because these Korean colleges want to get the international ratings, they actually charge less to foreigners than they do their locals, which is absurd. And my cousins were protesting. I said, you know, that's something you should protest. That's off. That's almost like how UCI try to take down the American flag because there's a lot of Chinese in the student body. But you know, as a California resident, I was paying taxes for that school system. Whatever the case. Wow, look at this. This is farm theme. So they have little stories about the farm. I wish I had more time to dedicate this to that, but huh? I know, Mom. My mom's just like, it's so far. I'm like, yeah. Whoa, look, they even have this is ondol, meaning like for hundreds of years Koreans had this heating system where they would heat the floors. If you ask a Canadian, all the rage right now on the home heating systems is the Korean home heating systems or whatnot. One of my subscribers told me. So even in modern age, Korean heating system is good. But back then, you know, these little huts, they had heated floors. It's crazy. They would just light a fire underneath. Anyways, whatever the case, wow, look at that. Oh, I missed it. I wanna go on this walk. So, oh, that's one difference. That's quite annoying. I don't know when they're gonna stop doing that. I mean, I understand it. Like, foreigners do go to Thailand in far bigger numbers. So it might, you know, on the side of the Thais, I think it's smart policy because you already have over tourism. So you need to discourage foreigners from coming that aren't gonna spend enough, you know, because already like a lot of the historical sites, there are just too many people. Whereas in Korea, they're asking you to come. they're making it free. So I mean, although I can understand from the point of the Thais doing that, double pricing foreigners, I'm telling you guys, stop. You don't have to accept it, or you don't have to go there and complain about it. There's other places where they'll offer free tourist accommodations and such like this, and just go ahead and take advantage of it right now. There's price arbitrage. So contrary to what you may think, I keep telling you guys, it's costing me less to sort of travel around here in Korea, which I've covered. Like, the one thing I won't really cover is the cost of living, because there's so many variables to it. But long story short, in my other videos I've explained how even in Korea, cost of living is cheap when you consider all the things like health insurance, etc. Just to put into example this current COVID issue right now, if you want to go to Thailand, I just did a live stream with somebody who got the STV visa, and they had to get a coronavirus insurance, which costs $400. Then they had to get health insurance, which is like from their approved list, which is like another $150. Then they had to book like 3 months of hotel reservations, blah blah blah. Then they had to get a criminal background check, paid another, you know, $100, all that. Whereas Korea, you're just paying like for the quarantine itself only, which is about the same price as, maybe cheaper. 들어갈 수 있어요 여기? All right. Oh, cool. Look at this. So cool. You see, I'm telling you, Koreans, you can't be lazy. They will put you to work. And they'll have you make these free attractions. All right. I don't know if you can see it, but this is Whoa, 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 so loud. Wow. He doesn't like being filmed. But you know, if you want to know what that is, that's in the Korean drama Mine. I really don't watch Korean dramas, but you should check out Mine on Netflix. It's like, it's one of the Korean dramas that I do like, because it's not about love. It's like so much drama though. But they have like the rich people have one of those in their homes. They call them 노들, 노들아. You know, so this mountain is called Hongcheon-gun because maybe they have a lot of those. What? What? My mom is showing me what toilets back in the old days used to look like. Oh, she's got it wrong. This is a kimchi place. So Koreans used to bury the kimchi pots in the ground because there's no refrigerators, but Korea is cold as heck. And you provide a bit of shade for it and it's perfect. Year-round fermented kimchi. Alright guys, anyways, we're gonna be dropping by a 7-Eleven, and that's something that's similar to Thailand. You have great 7-Elevens out here, and then we will finally get to driving through Hongcheon. Alright guys, so now I'm in Hongcheon. I've featured the city in already 2 videos, I believe. First time here in the spring though, and I like it. Spring is a very good time to be. And that brings me to my next topic, the weather. The weather is actually quite different. Everybody knows this, but here's what you may not realize. Everybody just complains how bad Korean weather is, and it's mainly because the winters here are really cold. So they're basically basing their whole thing on just how horrible winter is. And I would have to agree. I really hate the winters here. It's pretty cold. But another thing about winter, however, is that it's not like it's the coldest thing ever. I mean, if you're from Minnesota or something, it's much colder there. So that's one factor. And the other thing is, everybody complains about weather. You can't please everybody, because when I was in Thailand, everybody just kept complaining about just, how do you deal with the unbearable heat there, you know? And I'm like, honestly, it's not big of a deal because I'm in air conditioning all the time. Well, you know, technically you can say the same thing about Korea. You might not be able to imagine just how warm and advanced the heating system here is in Korea because you've never been, but they have the most advanced heating systems in the world, like I mentioned before, since hundreds of years ago. I mean, oh, look at this, Korean melons. 와, 이거 맛있겠다. Wow, Koreans love selling fruits on the back of the truck. That's sort of one difference. Like, I see this in Thailand too. They'll sell fruits in the back of the truck, and they're actually quite cheap. You want to go for them, but the street vendors are just everywhere. So they usually sell it from there, and you usually buy from there. But Korea, you can't just randomly set up street stalls in the middle of the road. There's regulations against that. However, nothing prevents you from driving a truck. There's nothing against that, right? And if somebody wants to buy something, you can just quickly park it on the side of the road. So that's why those like truck sellers are popular in Korea. Anyways, going forward, it is quite cold here, but there are people who would argue it's not that big of a deal. You can stay indoors, heating is great, you know, and you're sometimes out, only a couple times, and they just have really amazingly warm coats and stuff here too. So it's not like you're really freezing your butt off, okay? It's not like America where you have like, you know, very old heating systems, or you have to deal with like super dry air or anything like this. Now, that being said, winter still sucks, and I'd rather be somewhere else than winter. But it's the same thing in Thailand. During flooding season, I'd rather be somewhere else than flooding season. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're in the north, you're having floods of epic proportions that are like flooding homes. Like, if you're on the first floor, it's like pretty much submerged. If you're in Bangkok, you're walking through a bunch of dirty, muddy water. It's not a very pleasant time to be, you know? So that's why most people come during the winter in Thailand. But problem with
winter is, it is when you have the worst smog. So that's why there's that misconception, oh, Bangkok is the smoggiest country in the world. Alright guys, just had to stop by to admire this view right here. I like this view. There's like the freeway going over there and the road right here. But as far as the weather is concerned, it might not be that much of an issue as you might think. You just have to come out here and experience it. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people just, you may think you want warm weather, but when it's warm and hot and humid, you might not like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because in the States, even if you're living in, you know, Phoenix, Arizona or wherever. Oh, where do I go? I think I remember I'm supposed to go right, but oh yeah, I am supposed to go right. This, Appa, U-turn.
U-turn.
Yeah, I've been here before, but yeah, like the GPS never updates here, so I always, I should just rely on my instincts. But anyways, in the States, you're always in your car or in your house where AC is blasting, so the heat might not be an issue. It's the same thing with Thailand, but it honestly also depends on what kind of lifestyle you're living. A lot of people imagine, oh, they're gonna just be sitting by the beach or something. You know, it's gonna be very hot and humid. That's why you don't really see Thais sitting by the beach all day. That's like the most ridiculous thing to do, especially because you're gonna damage your skin, and you know, you only got like maybe 3-4 good years of looking decent out there, and then after that you're gonna look like some old wrinkled guy, you know, and you don't want to do that. So it's good. You know, it's like the variations of the weather is not too bad, considering that this is the thing that Korea got going for it. Oh my gosh, look at this. Woo! Hongcheon River. The thing that Korea got is, when the weather is good, it is good. It's really good. Like right now, it's not humid, it's not hot, it's nice and breezy. Like, I've never, like, there isn't too many places where you can experience perfect weather. In Thailand, it's like, I think, you know, I give it that overall, for me, especially coming from California, most of the time it's more to my liking, right? Although I've even had Californian friends come there and go, how do you live here? It's so hot. But to me, most of the time it's bearable because I really hate the cold. But even for someone that really hates the cold, when the weather is good here in Korea, like in spring and fall, which are 2 of the 4 seasons, it's really good. And summer, it's pretty much comparable to, oh, Thailand. Oh, look at that. Wow, what are they doing in the river? They're like fishing for gold. Anyways, so if you just eliminate the winter month, the weather here is, you know, you could argue it's better than Thailand. I kid you not. I mean, when are you gonna have like this perfect weather where it's not smoggy? Like in Bangkok, when the weather is good, it's smoggy. And then, you know, some people have this really wrong assumption. Ooh, I like this rice paddy. Ooh, you see the reflection in the the water. Some people have this misconception that Chiang Mai is somehow better because, you know, in the pictures you see a lot of greenery. But Chiang Mai is actually worse because it's a valley and it traps all that smog. It's even closer to China where you have all the microdust blowing in and stuff. Anyways, and the other thing about the winter months here in Korea is, you know, in the winter it's like the get-together holidays. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of vacations there. Koreans take Christmas quite seriously. So over in Korea, because it's, you know, it's more of a Christian country, a lot of the holidays are in tune with what you are in the West. So a lot of the get-togethers, like Christmas, even Korean Thanksgiving falls around the same fall season as American Thanksgiving, etc. It's like the get-together times. So those are the times when you're like sort of indoors anyways, you know? And there's actually a correlation of winter months, because it's not like the times you go out and sightsee. A correlation between then and when a lot of couples start forming. So it's like a cycle, you know? You get your girlfriend like in the winter months. So you're indoors quite a lot. You know, experiencing some of that world-class Korean heating system, and it's not really much of an issue that you can't go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is, like I already said, Thailand's more for someone who's lazy, right? Thailand is perfect if you want like a really affordable condo that's almost like a resort with a pool and everything, and you're just sort of chilling there. But there's not really much to do per se, at least compared to Korea. You know, there's just so many activities. So, I mean, you're going to Thailand to chill anyways, and most of the time you're going to be home anyways with your girlfriend or whatever. So in Korea, just the winter months, stay home with your girlfriend, you know, for the holidays, be with your family, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. And it's not like you're not going to travel. I mean, if you're coming out to Asia, you're coming out here to travel. So winter months, that's when you should travel to some of the warmer countries, which is what I'm planning on doing. Oh my gosh, it's sort of windy out here though. Woo! Sort of like the shady part of the mountain. Such variations in weather. So it's not too bad. I'm sort of getting used to it. I never thought I would say this, but if you sort of understand how to deal with the weather, then it sort of becomes a non-issue in both countries. You know, Thailand's not too hot, Korea's not too cold, because you got AC and you got heating. Alright, well anyways, let me focus on the road a bit, because I'm by the Hongcheon River. Woo! Wow! By the way, okay, let's talk about the roads here, because this is the thing I constantly get when I'm riding a motorcycle or whatever. People who've never ridden a motorcycle just assume the worst, and they say it's the most dangerous thing. But do the roads here really look that dangerous? Are the drivers really that crazy? I mean, I always hear this, like, oh, you don't want to be driving because, you know, these Asian drivers are crazy kind of thing. I mean, this is sort of like a thing they say even in America, you know? It's like this sort of xenophobic kind of thing. And I will say, to some degree, you know, they're right, because in, you know, South Korea and Thailand, people are less likely to follow rules because they're less enforced. It's not necessarily that Asians are worse drivers, because imagine if you could get away with breaking the law, then I would imagine there's just as many people or even more people that would be breaking the law in America. You know what I'm saying? But as far as the safety is concerned, the difference between Korea and Thailand would be, this is just my opinion, having driven for years in both of those countries on a motorcycle, I feel actually safer driving in Bangkok with my scooter than I do in Seoul. And with the countryside, vice versa. I feel much, much safer driving in the Korean countryside than I do driving in like the Thai countryside. And if I was driving a scooter, honest to God, I think I would feel that it is the most dangerous thing to do in the city and the countryside. So to some degree, I understand the fear that Americans have. Like, they're like, you're crazy, you're just asking to be killed. Well, if I was driving in America, yeah, I would be. If I was driving a 125cc, scooter in America, I am asking to be killed. Why? Because the speeds there are just, because people follow the rules more, they just sort of blindly drive without being defensive. If it's a green light, they don't look left and right. They just drive through it at 10 miles per hour over the whatever regular speed limit. They got like tunnel vision over there. In Asia, everybody is, defensively driving. It doesn't matter if it's green light. You look left and right. You know what I'm saying? That being said, the reason why I still feel more comfortable driving in the Korean countryside is, just look at this. How many cars am I coming across? You know what I'm saying? And because Koreans know that there's a tendency for accidents to happen, they drive a lot slower. And the speed limits are a lot lower. I mean, y'all know that miles per hour is significantly faster than kilometers per hour. But the speed limits are the same in Korea in kilometers per hour. Like on the highway, it's like 80 kilometers per hour. In California, it is like 80 miles per hour, Wait, was it 60? I'm sorry, I can't really remember, but I know I drive at least 80 miles per hour. You have to drive at least 80 miles per hour. And as a matter of fact, it's normal to be driving like 90 miles per hour. In Korea, especially on the freeways, wow, look at this helicopter. I know there's like a lot of military bases here. I know one of my viewers, they're based out of here. Wow, they're Apaches. Yeah, they're Apaches. Flying pretty low. Jeez, man, imagine if I was flying my drone here. I mean, you gotta be careful with that. I noticed, even though I'm pretty sure this is not a no-fly drone zone, there's a lot of these military exercises, and those Apaches, and the ones that are really dangerous are like, what do you call them? The warthogs, the tank killers, those planes that go really fast. They fly super low, especially along the river areas. Maybe they're breaking the law or something. Like their commander probably tells them not to do that, but I don't know, I swear they're flying much lower than 120 meters. So, you gotta be careful be ready to take evasive maneuvers if you're flying drones. Let me just double check if my drone's recording. Okay, but yeah, as far as driving in the Korean countryside, I feel it's super safe. 40 kilometers per hour, it's just really low speed limits. People are gonna now then start pointing to fatalities in Korea in motorcycles. First of all, there's just, this is where statistics could make or break you. You really need to be analytical. There are just far more motorcycle drivers in Thailand and Korea. So you are obviously going to have more fatalities as a total number. But you'll rarely see numbers of fatalities per total drivers. Why? Because it would paint a different picture, or at least it wouldn't make it seem as serious, because you know, nonprofit organizations are doing these studies so that they could get money. You know what I'm saying? To make it sound more serious than it actually is. I'm not saying that road fatalities aren't an issue in Thailand, for example. I think so. I mean, Thailand has some issues, especially in the countryside. Like, this is a misconception. A lot of people think for some reason you go to Thailand and it's really dangerous to drive in Bangkok because you just see how crazy the roads are, and they're like, you know, they think it's the safest thing to be driving in the countryside. Oh guys, in the countryside in Thailand, speed is not enforced. Even in the areas that it is enforced, at least in the past, there has been accusations of a lot of, you could just pretty much bribe the cop. I'm not saying that that's what's happening now, but I've just heard reports of that. In the past, you know, the current government is definitely cracking down on that. But, man, I mean, just, I'm afraid to even drive a car in the countryside. Just look at my Khao Yai video and just how crazy the driving conditions there are. Like, the trucks do not, like, tie down their luggage correctly. It's just, there's so many hazards on the road. And then the road condition is not as good either. Just look at how safe the Korean roads are, even in the countryside. There's like a lot of money being spent to maintain these roads. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's better than America as far as I'm concerned. You're not gonna find backcountry roads that are as nice as this. Oh, look at this. Oh, so beautiful. Wow. 멋있지, 엄마? Yep. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, it smells so good. Wow, green air. So good. Loving it. Alright. So yeah, speed is not enforced. And road hazards, road conditions are really dangerous, where somebody asked me, hey, let's travel around Thailand in a scooter. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kill myself. I've driven in the Vietnamese countryside, and I would rather even drive in the Vietnamese countryside. Thailand countryside, it's really bad. And if you probably, I'm not 100% sure, but just based on my experience, just look at the numbers, and I imagine most of these accidents, the motorcycle fatalities, they probably happen in the countryside. Why? Because it's really hard. I mean, it's not hard to get in an accident in Bangkok. Very easy for you to scratch someone's mirror or something while you're weaving through Bangkok traffic. But Bangkok traffic is so bad. Cars are literally just parked on the roads that it's hard to get yourself killed in Bangkok. Unless you're driving like at night, which I don't. That's one thing I don't do in Bangkok. I don't drive at night because, you know, I've seen how some of these girls drive back home after they've had a few drinks at the club. Knowing that beforehand, I really don't drive at night in Bangkok. But during the daytime, it's really hard to get yourself killed. So that's why, you know, I would rather drive in Bangkok, like in the city. But in Seoul, it's a different matter. The roads are relatively wider, the speeds are a lot higher, and Korean drivers are a bit more aggressive in the city. Well, you know what? Take that back. Because coming from California, I would say California drivers are just as aggressive as Korean drivers, and Bangkok drivers are just as aggressive as Korean drivers. But when you have the same aggressiveness and higher speeds, that's when it gets deadly. That's why I would say the last urban area I would drive in is California, then it would be Korea, then it would be Bangkok, right? But the only urban area that's really sort of safe, I think, is the very big cities like Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Pattaya, maybe Phuket, but that's stretching it. Even when I went to Udon Thani, for example, in Thailand, that's pretty dangerous, you know? But whereas in Korea, yeah, a lot of these urban areas, I wouldn't drive it. But then like the country urban areas, they're pretty safe. So, maybe it's just Seoul that's really dangerous. I actually flew a drone here already. It's really nice here, I like it. Wow, they're like, those are like tents. Yeah, that's a nice area to camp. That's glamping, really. It's not really, in my opinion, it's not really camping. But it's glamping. So that's how I'd break it down to you. The roads here, pretty safe. I mean, how many cars did you see? I think I came across like maybe 2 cars. Woo! Wow, so beautiful. Oh. I really like the rivers here in Korea. The roads around the rivers, it's just oceans are nice, but this is just more relaxing. It's a very calming environment. And I really like bridges. I'm a bridge guy. So I come across a lot of them. Anyways, what else can I talk about? Okay, I want to sort of wrap up some pros and cons. And a lot of this sort of mixes in with what I was talking about before, but this is actually quite an important topic, I think. And something that determines your long-term happiness expat lifing. Hold up a little bit. Okay, it seems like it's recording. And that is return on your investment. And when I talk about return on investment, I'm not only talking about money, but time, because time is money. And I have a lot of people that seem to assume that it's a very good idea to invest a lot of time and money into Thailand, and they expect great things. I mean, sounding like the Great Gatsby. It's like great expectations. The difference between return on investment in Thailand and Korea is, and this might sound cryptic, but I'll explain it. You get a lot more back in Thailand for investing little. But if you want to invest a lot, I think you get a lot more back in the long run in Korea. And what does that mean? So there's a lot of people who go to Thailand as a tourist, and oh, this is really beautiful. And they experience the hospitality of the Thai people, because the Thai people are amazing, guys. They're just so generous. And you know what? I wonder if I can go underneath. I've been over that bridge, but I want to try to go under it. I think I remember there was like, was there? Oh no, there wasn't. Ah, yeah. Ah, I thought I could cross it. Ah, idiot. Oh, come on. So they travel there and it's fantastic. You give like nothing, and Thai people are so generous, they give you something. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, wow, you know, this is fantastic. And that's how Thai people are. They're just some of the most generous people I've come across. And they're just so chill. You know, you learn a lot on your first trip to Thailand. And Thailand's still one of my favorite countries for that. So, I'm not really throwing shade. I'm just being straight up honest with you. But there's this thing, like, they get so much back as a tourist, but why are there so many bitter long-term expats in Thailand? And I'm not saying there aren't in Korea, because there's plenty of those, you know, but having lived in both those places, I could tell you there's far more bitter expats in Thailand long-term. And it's not without cause. You know what I'm saying? I get it. It's because, but it's honestly their fault. And let me tell you how you can set yourself up not for failure. In Thailand, you don't really have that much long-term protection of your assets. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna buy a condo there, you're gonna do a business there, you want some kind of expectation that you're gonna be able to stay there and you're not gonna get deported over something relatively minor in your opinion. You know what I'm saying? There's people that invest a lot. I mean, it might not even be money. It's just time. Like, they'll get married, they have kids, they raise them, and they're left feeling like they're not wanted by Thailand anymore because lately, every year, they're raising the requirements, you know? I mean, you could argue it's not that bad right now, but these people that have invested 20, 30 years of their life into Thailand, back 20, 30 years ago, decided, hey, you know, I'm gonna sacrifice, you know, the Western compensation, like making money in the Western, you know, sense, like a lot. And I'm just gonna live the slow life here in Thailand, you know? But if you live the slow life, you live the lazy, chill life, you're not gonna have a lot of money, guys. At least compared to the guys who have been hustling back home in the West. So 20, 30 years later, you're gonna find yourself priced out of Thailand. Whereas all your buddies from America are going, hey, you know, they're not gonna empathize with you because they're gonna go, hey, it's still very affordable, you know? But because they've been keeping up with the price of inflation. Thailand has been keeping up with the price of inflation, but none of your assets have been inflating in Thailand. And now you're sort of stuck. Like, there's a lot of expats. I mean, I can get into real big details about this, but in Thailand, there's a lot of expats. Now they're priced out. Like, they qualify for immigration before, their marriage visas, etc., but they can't extend it now. You know, the health insurance that they had that covers Thailand is no longer valid anymore because it's not in Thailand's arbitrary list of approved insurance policies. And now they want you to have like expensive insurance, which they can't afford. So now they got to go back to England, you know, and they got children, they got a wife, but they still can't, you know, make it happen. Maybe, you know, you invested a ton of money into your business, but some policy has you not be able to renew it. Or you did something relatively minor in your opinion, such as, you know, speak publicly about Thai politics, and all of a sudden they're threatening to throw you in jail just for saying, you know, critiquing Thai politics or the leaders of Thailand no more than you would, you know, criticize Donald Trump or Joe Biden. you know, like, but in Thailand, that's a offense worthy of jail time, and you're lucky to be just losing your business and going home deported. You know what I'm saying? So, the more Thailand, I would recommend, would be a great place as somewhere you travel to, where you're a tourist. That's honestly how it's designed. Whereas Korea, there is a bit more reciprocation and an appreciation for you being here long term. I mean, if you have a pretty valid reason to be here, you can expect there is a path to permanent residency in about 5 years' time, you know? You could, if you ask the expats in Korea, they're gonna disagree. Because why? Expats in every country that haven't traveled to other places, it's like all relative. If they're in their little bubble, nothing is ever enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would be very careful to listen to expats who haven't traveled outside. I mean, their opinions are just based on their little bubble. So if they travel more, then they could give you a better, more relative sense. But in my honest opinion, having lived significantly a long time in America and Korea and Thailand, I can tell you, sure, it could be better, but it certainly is better than Thailand as far as your opportunities to get some kind of a permanency here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really suggest anybody to permanently move out to Asia. I think it's like it varies really on your situation, you know? I recommend that you do what is right for your financial situation. But oh man, this is beautiful. Okay, seems like it's still recording. Woo! Oh, this is Palbongsan, I believe. This is Eight Peak Mountain here. I've been here, and it's one of my favorite mountains. I think I want to come back here another day, climb it again. Oh, love it. I love this mountain. Check out my Hongcheon video. I have some really epic drone shots of that mountain there. 엄마, 저게 팔봉산이야. 팔봉산. Anyways, I'm sort of exhausted now from talking. Oh, look at those people. They're camping. Huh? No, it's free, Amma. Yeah. I'm telling you, like, Koreans are a bit more badass. Like, they're less likely to, like, if there's a place you could put up a tent, they'll put it up. You know, I think Thai people are a bit more polite, and they'll go, you know what, are you supposed to do that? And they won't do it. I'm serious. It's like the laws are a bit less enforced in Korea, I think. You got a bit more freedom. People think, yeah, I'm repeating myself, but like scenes like that, they don't really exist too much in Thailand. Especially because if you do something wrong, you're messing with the military. The police here are the military, so you don't want to. And there's one negative: impatient people. All right. I always get this part wrong. I hope I'm right. I always route this area and say I want to go along the river, but I end up, I think I got it right this time. Okay. 8번 Mountain, a peak mountain. All right. Someone's behind me. Gotta speed up. Woohoo! Wow, look at that motorcycle. Those are tents. Oh, is that a tent? They're like little cabins on the river. That's so nice. Yeah, no, it's glamping. It's tents. Yeah. Yeah, glamping place. Even though Thailand might seem like more third world, I think like their culture is a bit more, how do you say, gentlemanly? They're very polite. Like they will try to do what the right thing is, you know, like try to, their mannerisms are a bit more advanced, whereas Koreans are more of the act first and ask questions later type of people. You know what I'm saying? So they're pretty badass. They'll just camp wherever, and if the cops come up to them, they'll go, "There's no signs, you know. Why are you blaming me?" Oh, this is a camping area. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a nice place to camp. Yeah, I sort of want to come out and camp. 엄마 캠핑 가자. Woo! Look at all those people camping out there. Yeah, whereas in Thailand, if there's like a natural area, I'm like afraid I'm trespassing or something even more so than here in Korea. You know what I'm saying? If it's like public lands, it's pretty much okay for you to camp there. And most of these riverways are public land because generally a person can't own the riverways. You know, there's not. That's just how it's set up in Korea. I think that's great. That's fantastic. Like beachfronts, riverfronts, they're owned by the people, the government. They don't really sell it and become a private property. I've not really seen too many private beaches. I've been to Jeju, all these places where you have 5-star resorts and everything, but the trail or the beach right in front, it's open to the public, you know? So in those areas, you're pretty much free to camp, unless there are specific signs that say don't do it, you know? Oh, so beautiful. Oh, the sun right there, glistening in the water. Ah, I like it. Oh, smells so fresh here. Ah. Ah. There is sort of a difference in the countryside smells, per se. I can't really say how it smells in the American countryside. You know why? Because we're usually in our cars, but so you can't really smell the outside. But in Thailand, oh wait, can I do this? 아니야, 여기 밑으로 내려가야 돼. I have to cross it. 그게 어떻게 넘어갈 수 있나? Oh, okay. They want me to go that way, but I can just do this. Just make a left turn. Alright. But the smells are a bit different in the sense that here's pros and cons. In Korea, when I'm driving through the countryside, because there's so many like places that raise cows and pigs, I once in a while get a whiff of poo-poo, you know? But the pro is, for the most part, it's like it smells really good, because every piece of land there's something happening, like they're growing vegetables, because there's not a lot of land in Korea. So everything is maximized. I don't think I've driven through here. Oh look, there's more camping spots there. Oh, this Hongcheon River is fantastic for camping. I don't know why my dad keeps honking. Why? 왜? 어? Oh, my dad wants to rest. 뭐 이거? 어디? Where? 어디 앉아? 아 저기 뭐 있어. 저기. 잠깐만 뭐 있는 거 같. We're trying to find a place to rest. My dad's butt hurts. My mother is very impatient. Very typical. 엄마, think about it. Here, 여기 다 강이야. 앉을 때가 천지야. I mean, 그냥 여기 해도 앉아. All right. My mom's quite amazed, like, how do you have so many things to talk about? There's so much to talk about. I need a partner so I could do something like ADV China, and then we can have like a conversation. Oh, this is so beautiful here. Yeah, but as far as how things smell, let me just wrap it up. It smells nutty out here. Maybe because there's so much rice. But you can also smell apples and like oranges, sweet. So that is a difference. And in Thailand, it just smells like the jungle everywhere. So that's good. But it's just one smell. The other thing is, because the roads aren't as well paved, and the emissions over there, it's really, it's not enforced as far as I'm aware. Like there's no smog check or anything. You smell, when you're on the roads, you're always smelling like smog. Even in the countryside, something drives by you, it smells really bad. But here, I think the air is really nice. Oh, look at that bird. It's flying low across the river fishing for something. Alright guys, so there's more differences here between Korea and Thailand, but what can I say? It's the differences that make everything good. And that is why the point of this particular video is not to try to tell somebody, you know, Korea is better than Thailand or Thailand's better than Korea. I think it just depends on what you want to experience. And that's why I sort of made this video, so you can really think hard and deep about what kind of person you are and what you would what you would like, and not to just completely discount a place just based on the people who are just haters. Ooh, look at all this, all the bugs. All right, all the people who are haters, you know. Donate, participate. Oh, this is really nice. I like this road. Look at these yellow flowers. I'm sort of speechless right now. Woo. And to be honest with you, the answer might not even be any of these two countries. It might be another country, because there's other great countries like Taiwan, Japan, etc. Or the correct answer might be, like me, none. The correct answer is to go through every country, you know, be all of Asia. That's why I named my place, my channel, Live Travel Asia. You know, because eventually I'm gonna get sick of winters. Eventually I'm gonna get sick of summers. I want to travel and be at the right place at the right time. You know, eventually I'm gonna be sick of you know, people being prompt all the time, being anal retentive, and I want to go somewhere where it's a bit more lazier and chill, you know. So that's my plan, guys, to be in multiple places. Oh, what the heck, I didn't realize I was gonna be unpaved roads. Huh? My mom thinks it's I'm going the wrong way, but it is the road. Trust my motorcycle to get us through anything. Woo! And you know, sometimes it's great to be in the wrong place like that, because it'll eventually lead you to unexpected places like this. Wow, this might be the best camping spot I've seen so far. Wow. But I also do recommend coming here with the correct vehicle, because a car ain't gonna cut it through here. I don't know how he's gonna U-turn out of this. He's probably trying to cut his losses short right now, which I don't blame him. If I had a, what is that, a CRV? I would do that too. Woo. So my battery's almost about to die. I'm just gonna wrap it up here with that thought, guys. The world is big, and there's many different things to experience. And to every negative, there is a positive. So don't discount things because you hear the negative and just blow it completely out of proportion. Because there's probably a positive you'll never be able to experience if you avoid it. Oh, I'm a bit cold. The sun's setting. Woo! Things I could compare Korea and Thailand with, like culture, like politeness, talking behind people's back. Lots of things to talk about, but I'll leave that for another video. So leave in the comments below what maybe you want me to try to compare between Korea or Thailand or maybe another country I've been. Although the other countries, I sort of don't want to do something like this because my experience is a bit more limited. But you can at least ask me for my initial impressions, which I have plenty of. And I could make a 2-hour video out of anything, honestly. I'm a great talker. Ooh, it's nice, Amma. So, I don't know where we're supposed to go. I think I'm supposed to go on that bridge. 어떻게 저 다리로 가지? How? Oh wait, I know this place. 나 여기 알아. 나 여기 와봤어. This, I've been here. I know where this is now. Wait, is it?